we are doing a editing video, kind of going through the process of how I will edit either shoots or events, specifically relating to cars. That's typically what I shoot. I've done, other events in the past, but it's kind of what I specialize in. So let's jump into that. Alright, so here we have a shot of this Huracan, usually every Sunday or every other Sunday. And I'm typically there just to, shoot the cars and meet some new people. So already, this is pretty good for a shot, you can see all the details, pretty well lit, because there's an overcast day, not too much harsh side, just, remove any distractions that I don't want in the photo. And now with the generative AI in this, it makes it way easier to do than before. So I'm just gonna remove this, careful not to touch the car, because I find that it does distort that. A lot of times I'll go back through and then just use the clone tool or something relative to that to get the sharp edge around the car, versus going in and having it get distorted by whatever the AI thinks it is. So that's pretty much where I leave it with that, what it does here. Yeah, so for this one, it's similar enough around it that I think it'll be fine with that. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I'll go in with this and then see. Obviously it's gonna choose, it usually chooses a bad spot to pick from, so I'm gonna see if I can just match this up here at all with the part of the car, and then see how that looks. Not bad. No, let's see here. So let's feather that out a little bit, maybe. Opacity. It's a little tricky with these. You kind of just gotta fiddle around with it a little bit to see what will work the best. So I might just end up taking that into Photoshop later. I can see that a little bit. But anyways, yeah, we'll move on to the people back here. Hopefully this should be a pretty easy one, because it's blurred, but there's also some people there, so sometimes the AI gets weird with the people, and like that it just decides to continue the guy on the bike. So we're just gonna go through here and select more of it. So that's not too bad. I'm not sure, what happens back there, but I think, the main thing is just the focus. You want it to be on the car. So for this, the crop, let's see, maybe a little bit tighter, and just kind of move it a little more central there. I think that's a little better. And then for this, typically, it already is a pretty contrasty shot. but a lot of times I'll just go and then create an inverted mask. That way it kind of separates the car a little bit more. You don't want to do it too much. Something that I see a lot is that a lot of people will overdo the masks and stuff, and then it looks like the car was out of place in the scene. So it's one thing to keep in mind with this. And then I'll probably bring up the shadows a little bit here just to get a little more of that detail. A lot of times I don't like to do this all over the car, just specifically the wheels, usually the front of the car, especially in like the grill areas. Those get dark. So, but sometimes it'll bring out unwanted shadows on the body of the car that kind of add dimension to it. So I think that's pretty good. Then we'll go over to color here. Maybe mess around with the grass a little bit here. Bring the greens down. Yellows over a little bit. Orange, let's see. It's not too much orange. I think I'll just take it out there, and then I'll just bring the saturation back into the reflector here. So let's just see the object tool here. Perfect. And then we'll bring that back up. And then there's a little bit of aqua in the windshield there, so I could probably just bring that all the way out. And then for the sky, it's nice that they just have the sky mask now. It's easy to choose. I'll probably add some dehaze in this to bring it out, and then just a little bit of the clarity. And for like the most unedited style, that's usually where I would leave it. I do have a couple presets that I like using. So that's one, subtle changes, but it's a really clean edit. That's what I do if I was like gonna sell the car, or someone wanted shots of exterior and interior just to sell it. That's usually what I would do. If it's for Instagram, sometimes I'll throw on a little heavier. We can try this one, the ocean one, and then tweak it. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, these presets look horrible, and I think that's the biggest thing, is like people think straight out of when they download them, they think they're gonna work. So a lot of times what I do is I just make a bunch of presets that I know I can go to for when it's an overcast day or sunny or night. That way it's easier to kind of just throw it on and then make minor adjustments and then know it's ready to go. But I see a lot of people, they're like, oh, this looks horrible, and so they're like, well, the preset's trash. But nothing is really ever gonna fit perfectly when you just throw a preset on. So we can work with this preset a little bit and kind of see what it's doing with the colors here. So decent amount of dehaze in there. Probably take that out because it's a little contrast, too much contrast for me, for my liking at least. And not much with the colors here. I think this was mostly, just tone curve. Let's see here. Oh, and it did bring it to the purple a little bit more. So that's always tricky with white. It's one thing. is that a lot of times, you know, the white can look very different depending on where your white balance is, so that's one thing to keep in mind. I usually don't bring out the yellows, so I think I would push that more towards green, but I mean, that's about, you know, I tend to keep things a little more natural, but I think that's, you know, that's what I do with that one. Let's see what else we have here. They had a Storado there, an STO, lots of stuff. Let's see. This one, I mean, there's not too much that needs to be done. I mean, this is straight out of the camera. So, let's see here. See if I can find a preset that I would like to use and then go off that. Fog's not bad, just too high on the contrast for me personally. That's why, you know, a lot of clarity. So that's the thing, it's just like knowing exactly what to go to kind of fix, you know, whatever the preset is doing. So this pushed the greens to the yellow, all the way to the yellow, so I'm going to bring that back. A little saturated there. Bring him down. Aqua's already out, so that's good. Personally, that's kind of how I like my grass. The whites are way too much on that. We lost the detail here on the hood, so I'm gonna bring that back. It does give it a duller look, but it's not as blown out as it was before. So I'm just gonna do subject, see what it sees for that, and then just invert that and bring that down just a hair. Maybe a graduated filter, or linear one, just to kind of darken that a little bit. And maybe, you know, it's good to have space around the car, but maybe tighten it up just a little bit. But that's pretty much what I do. You know, there's got a little bit of dust there. Lots of ambulances always around here. Okay, that did a good job with that. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I do. I tend to keep things more on the natural side. I see a lot of people that just over edit stuff, and you know, if you get everything right in camera, like I barely do any editing, and that's kind of how I like to shoot. You know, there's some that'll go in here and I can find that are, you know, a little more crazy as far as the edits go. Like this is a shot I took on my bike here. Let's see if it'll load the before here. But that's the before, and that's the after. That's like, you know, for me, that's a lot of change. I went through, I did a decent amount of edits to the foreground and then get the sky right, tried to catch that mood a little better, because the camera just really got things, you know, it was very blue out of camera, so I did have to mess around with that a bit. This one I did a little more editing too as well. Let's see here. So before, again, just a little cooler. And yeah, I just warmed it up and, you know, added a bit more contrast to it. But in terms of editing, like that's not anything crazy, you know. Similar deal with this. I just, warmed it up. I changed the greens more, pushed the greens more towards yellow. Um, brought up the shadows and added a little bit more contrast. But for me, that's how I do it. I just keep things really pretty natural looking throughout all my shots. I like to preserve what's already been shot, versus just manipulating the image so far that it looks nothing like it did in camera. Not that I have anything against that, but it's just not technically how I usually edit. Especially for clients and stuff, I try to keep things a little more natural. Once in a while I'll throw in like a more stylized photo, just to see, just so they have a little bit more variety than, but on the normal side of things, I generally keep it pretty consistent to what I shot at, and sometimes you have to fiddle with the colors a little more to keep it natural. I think that's why a lot of people tend to, just like remove all the blues and do, because if you go so far that you edit everything, then it's I think it's almost easier in that way than taking an image that looks natural, but then just adding a little bit more drama to it and focus to what you want to draw the eye to. So that's typically how I go about my editing, and I'll probably do a couple more editing videos, just kind of highlighting specific things that I would do. Those were very short edits. Those aren't anything that I would give to a client or anything. That's just kind of my baseline for what I do and how I find out what images I want to use, either to post or give to a client, or but yeah, so I'll probably do some other videos kind of going into more detail about what I do and how I would finalize a set of images for a client. And then also planning on making a video on just the gear that I use, what I would bring to a normal shoot. I have a shoot in 3 days for a listing on Cars and Bids, so I might do a little vlog on that, showing kind of the process that I go through, the equipment I bring, getting to the shoot, getting set up, kind of documenting the whole process. But if you enjoy this video, please leave a like, and subscribe. If you have anything you want to see, just leave that in the comments, and I'll definitely take that into consideration, because I'm just trying to grow this channel up. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.